And you are still watching Lunch Money right here on Business Television India. ICRA has come out with a report on PSU banks, and it's saying that the counters are going to post more losses going ahead. So let's get in more of that conversation by including Anil Gupta, who's the Vice President at ICRA, who's joining us with more details. Mr. Gupta, thank you for speaking to us right here on BTVi. Just give us a sense as to what the exact outlook is with regards to these banks and their profitability in FY19.
Yeah, good afternoon. As per our estimates, which we have put out yesterday in our report, what we believe is that the fresh NPA generations for the banking sector should go down because largely the recognition has been done. But on the contrary, because the level of gross NPAs and the net NPAs continue to remain high, and the resolution on these stress accounts is yet to be seen in a meaningful manner. So what we expect that the provisioning will continue to hit the profitability of the banks, especially the public sector banks, where we expect the credit provisions can range anywhere between 1.4 to 2 lakh crores, depending on the provisioning which the banks may have to do by end of financial year 19. So at such level of provisioning of 1.4 to 2 lakh crores, we expect that the public sector banks can continue to report losses next year also.
So, Mr. Gupta, help us put this in perspective. What are the chief factors that's going to impact the profitability of PSU banks, and how long do you think this pain could actually last?
Yeah, so if you look at the profitability, the loss range is again driven by not the fresh NPAs, but the existing NPAs. The existing NPAs, the banks had a provision cover of 50%, right? So what we have to see is there are around 3.8 lakh crores of the loans which we have come out in the report that they will require a resolution plan by September 2018. Otherwise, these need to be taken to the NCLT. Now, a large portion of these accounts belong to the power sector, where we have not seen any meaningful resolution in the stage 1 or stage 2 of the NCLTs, where the borrowers were referred to NCLT by RBI. So we don't know what sort of a haircut will finally happen on these accounts which are going to be resolved by September 2018. But in a scenario of 60 to 65%, the loss range can vary. See, you are sitting at a gross NPA of 10 lakh crores. A 5% provision itself, higher provision itself increases your loss by 50,000 crores. So what we need to see is what sort of a resolution, what sort of a haircut the bank will need to take. Now, I think the government and the bankers, they are very well aware of the situation, and the last few days, the developments which have been there on formation of the asset management company, which will take over the stress loans of the banks. Basically, the idea is to take out these stress assets from the balance sheet of the bank, so that a resolution can be done in a more meaningful way rather than referring them to NCLT as per the RBI direction. Question is how the funding of that AMC is going to happen, and will these stress assets go off the balance sheet of the banks in a timely manner?
Sure, fair enough, Mr. Gupta. And you've highlighted a lot of the sort of burning issues that we're looking at the moment when it comes to resolution. But if I was to ask you to really talk about what you anticipate to be the capital requirement of banks in FY19, how would you like to answer that?
Yeah. So see, what we are looking at is a loss situation of 40,000 crores to around 1 lakh crores. Now, clearly, the capital which is budgeted by the government is somewhere around 65,000 crores. And if this is the quantum of loss which can happen, even at a lower end, because see, capital requirements in the Basel III is increasing. So you have to shore up your capital by March 2019 as per the regulatory requirement itself. On top of that, you are having a loss. In a best case scenario, the loss is going to be around 40,000 crores. Now, what we feel is that the banks, there will be three categories of banks. One is basically who will be meeting the minimum capital ratios of around 7%, because if everybody has to meet the higher end of the capital requirement, which is 9.5% on tier 1, that includes the capital conservation buffers also, it will not be possible for the GOI to support all these banks, because in that case the capital requirements can be as high as up to 1.8 lakh crores. So in a realistic scenario, where we feel that the weaker banks will be given the capital just to meet a basic tier 1 of 7%, and the relatively better banks will be ensured a capital of 9.5%, we feel that the capital requirement for the banks should be in the range of 70,000 crores to 1.2 lakh crores. Now, if we look at even the lower end of the range, which is 70,000 crores, this is coming when the loss range is 40,000 crores for the public sector banks. In case the losses are higher, then the capital requirement goes up to 1.2 lakh crores, which is way beyond the budgeted capital of GOI. So the resolution with the lower end of the haircut is very critical for the banks to ensure that they meet the capital ratios. Otherwise, there is no option but for the government to upsize the budgeted capital for financial year 19.
All right, Anil Gupta, that's the VP at ICRA, really giving us a sense as to how ICRA is looking at the current resolution process as well as the scenario when it comes to PSU banks. Thank you for that conversation. We have an exclusive conversation coming up right here in the studio.